Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Kensington Work Like a Pro webinar. Thank you to all of you for joining today. We've got a decent amount of people already here, so I think we will, without a delay, we'll get started. So yeah, thanks again for everybody for joining. Today's webinar is all around the topic of how can we maximise remote worker well-being. By way of a short introduction to Kensington as a brand, if you guys don't know us, we are one of the leading manufacturers of PC accessories and peripherals. We have a wide product solution portfolio, and our sort of solutions are targeted around improving productivity, well-being, and data protection as well. So we've had a pretty busy year with the advent of everybody moving to home offices. Yeah, we've got lots of insights to share with you guys today about what we've seen over the past year and what we see going forward for the trends in the market and what's going on around working from home. So just to introduce the speakers today, as I said, my name is Rory Morgan. I head up the European marketing team for Kensington. With me on the call is Lisa. I always get Lisa's pronunciation of her surname wrong, so I'm not going to try today. But Lisa is our Global Category Marketing Manager, responsible for our wellbeing and ergonomics products. Before joining Kensington, Lisa had a background in workstation assessing and ergonomics. So Lisa has a lot of experience and expertise in this area. She's done thousands of workstation assessments and stuff over the years. So Lisa's going to be talking a little bit in more detail about some of the solutions that Kensington have a little bit later. So let's go through an agenda to tell you guys what we're going to be talking about today. So first up, I'm going to be talking about the new landscape of working, give you a little some data points that we found, and a bit of information about what's gone on over the past couple of years. Then I'll talk about the aches and pains of home working. So you know, there's obviously some negative impacts of working from home, but luckily lots of those are preventable. Which will then lead on to Lisa's section, where Lisa will talk about the solutions for healthy home working. She'll give a lot of information about some of the products that we sell and some of the solutions that are out there in the market to make sure that when you're working from home, you're working comfortably and you're looking after your physical well-being. Next on the list, Lisa will talk through our Smart Fit system under the section ensuring the right fit. Some of you may be aware of it, but if you're not, it will be a really useful thing for you guys to know about. And then finally, I'll take the control back and I'll talk through, by way of a quick summary, a work from home wellbeing checklist for employees. And this can be used by everybody on the call today, but it could also be shared with everybody on the call, all of your organization, your employees and your teams, to make sure that they are doing the you know, some quick and easy things to make sure that they're improving their work from home well-being. So before I get into the content of the presentation, in the webinar portal, you'll be able to see that there's a couple of handouts. So in there, I've uploaded an infographic, which is around working like a pro. So within that, there's a section on productivity, a section on data protection, but you know, the section that you guys will all be interested in is the wellbeing section. But it kind of gives a holistic view of some of the solution areas that Kensington provides in a work from home space under those kind of 3 pillars. And there is also a stretch guide that we've put together, and you know, you can download this and use and distribute to your teams. And this essentially is a few stretches that you can do at your desk, whether that's at home or back in the office, just to keep you moving and stretching and getting your blood circulating as well. So please feel free to have a look at that and use it throughout this presentation and onward as you continue to work from home. And then at the end, we'll open up to a question and answer session. There is a question section in the webinar portal, so if you have any questions, please drop them in there, and then at the end I will read out some questions and I'll get Lisa to answer those questions with her expert knowledge. Okay, So as I said, the first section is called the new landscape of working, and this section does include some data from a study that we conducted at the back end of last year, called "Do Your Homework: Key Strategies for a Comfortable, Productive, and Cyber Secure Distributed Workforce." Um, this is a study that was done by Kensington, and we surveyed lots of different industries, lots of different organisations and company sizes. So we got a really nice sort of broad overview of lots of different working environments and lots of different people within those organisations. So the new landscape of working, you'll all remember wasn't that long ago that we moved from home to office. Back when we did the survey that I mentioned, 70% of the respondents to that survey reported that more than half of their organisation's workforce was working remotely. And then, to add to that, 40% reported that more than 3/4 of their workforce was remote. And as I said, we surveyed lots of different industries, including like manufacturing, warehousing, education, etc., along with many others. So there's a vast sort of spread of industries. I'm sure that data won't surprise you. It was we went through a very quick change last year from working in offices to being forced almost to work from home. But what that meant was that we moved from specialist workstations. Most organisations provide desks that are the right height, ergonomic chairs, or at least office chairs, and a lot of sort of other accessories and tools for you to do your job. So we moved from that to a makeshift home office in most cases. So, we went from a place that was designed to be worked in for 8 hours a day to a place that was designed to be lived in. This meant that lots of people were sent home with just their laptop, and it meant that lots of the other luxuries that we had around us in the office we didn't have anymore. So this has obviously caused some problems for some people. I'll talk about that more in a little bit more depth now. So one of the other data points we pulled out of our survey was that nearly 7 out of 8 of the respondents said that they expected remote working levels to be higher or far higher than pre-COVID levels. So we're about to get into the stage now where national lockdowns are starting to ease, vaccines are being rolled out, and I'm sure that lots of people listening into this webinar are thinking about how to bring people back into the office, either full-time or under a hybrid work arrangement. This is happening across the globe, and everyone's in the same position. But the main point I wanted to call out from this is that working from home isn't going away. Pretty much every organisation out there will have some kind of home working arrangements. So some of the content that we're going to be going through today is going to be really important to make sure that it's working from home and the sort of plans organisations put in place, making sure that they're long term and they're planned out properly. So we're not just rushing through it like we may have done at the start of last year when it was a bit of a scramble to send everybody home with their laptops. Okay, so as I said, people working from home, it's often an ergonomic environment. For those on the call that may not be ergonomics experts, ergonomics can be defined as a study of how equipment and furniture can be arranged so that people can do work or other activities more efficiently or comfortably. Ergonomic environments have huge impacts on many things. So your posture, how you're sitting, your curvature of your spine, whether that's correct posture or incorrect posture, your overall comfort. So if you sit in an unergonomic position, you're not going to be comfortable, and that has its impacts. And also blood circulation as well. So all of these areas can be impacted by the way you're sat and the way your environment is set up. Okay. As I said, many organizations kind of embrace this ergonomic office design when they were working in the office, but as I said, the sudden shift to remote working has left many people, many employees unsupported, and that is all down to the fact that it was a bit of a rush. Perhaps we weren't expecting to have to do it so quickly, and we sent people back to work. We sent people home to work with just a laptop to make sure they were staying online and doing their work. So, you know, there's a visual example here of something that I'm sure lots of people on this call or out there in the work from home space are familiar with. You know, you've got somebody here sat at a dining table on a sofa with family in the background, perhaps kids doing homeschooling, and another partner or spouse trying to do home working as well. It's obviously not an ideal setup. But you know, as I said, Lisa will talk through some of the ways that we can improve those spaces later on in this presentation. Okay, one of the big things that came out of our study, which was quite alarming, is that the organisations really underestimate ergonomics. So, you know, only 40% of our survey respondents said that they prioritised physical comfort, well-being, ergonomics as their main focus to support remote working when we kind of all got sent home last year during the first coronavirus lockdown. So it's a really important point because, you know, there's something that now we've been doing it for a long enough time. Organizations have now got the chance to start thinking about this properly as a longer term solution and thinking about it holistically with you know, the mixture of home office, head office, and perhaps even mobile working as well. Okay, so that's kind of some data points that we pulled out of the study. Talk to you now about the health impacts that working in a non-ergonomic environment can have. So first of all, you know, fatigue, discomfort, and long-term health problems can be a result of prolonged bad posture. So if you're sat in a bad position for a long time, then, you know, it does have its effect on, you know, you can have severe back pain, you can develop musculoskeletal diseases and also like repetitive strain injuries as well. So, you know, sitting in a bad position for, you know, 20 minutes, half an hour, a couple of hours may not be fatal, but doing this over a prolonged period of time, as we may have been doing for the past year, is really, really dangerous. Chronic overuse and stress on certain areas can cause repetitive strain injuries. So one of the most common repetitive strain injuries for office workers is in your wrists, and this is caused by using equipment in the wrong way, perhaps having undue pressure in certain areas. And as I said, this can cause long-term injuries that, you know, are really serious, and you have to end up taking time off work for, going to see medical professionals for, but largely they are, in most cases, preventable. Not necessarily a serious health benefit, a serious health impact. But if you are uncomfortable, even slightly uncomfortable, you're going to be less productive. So, you know, if you're able to sit comfortably for half an hour, 45 minutes, and just get through a task, that's great. But if you're sitting in a position which you have to move every 5 minutes because your back's sore, you're not going to get as much work done. And us as organisations should be thinking about how this ties into our workforce's productivity, and how we make the most of the time that our employees have at their desks, and making sure that they're doing the most work possible in the best way. And then finally, you know, one of the other big impacts of you know, working from home especially, is the amount of blue light that we're being exposed to. So, you know, I've seen it myself in the first lockdown when we were told to stay at home and not go outside. You know, rather than going out seeing friends or going to play tennis or whatever like I used to do, I'd finish work on a laptop all day, looking at my monitor, and I'd log off and then go straight through to my living room and watch television, and that being interspersed by looking at my mobile phone, my tablet, etc. So all of us, I'm sure, can say that we've been looking at more screens over the past year than we have done in the past, and this has a really negative impact because you know, that blue light that's emitted from any screen causes you know, serious issues like eye strain, migraines, vision loss, and also a disruption of sleep. So, you know, it disrupts your body's circadian rhythms, which means that, you know, you may not get as good quality sleep, and you may wake up more in the night as well. So this is something that you perhaps may not realize is happening from looking at screens all day, but you know, that sleep, the loss of sleep is a really negative impact, and it impacts on our long-term health, but also our productivity during the day as well. Okay, and then another key point to mention is that you know, some previous to the pandemic, lots of us may have worked from home for a day, or worked from a different location for a short period of time, and in that case, it's not quite so important to have the best ergonomic setup. But if you're doing it for a long period of time, and you're sat in a poor position for a long period of time, then the longer the exposure, the worse the effects. So, one of the many issues that can be caused by this is hunched over laptop syndrome. And there may be people in your organization that are suffering from this, and it's all down to using just a laptop, and instead of the laptop's on its desk, your body is all scrunched up using the integrated keyboard and trackpad, as opposed to having a proper setup where you're able to expand your body and you don't sit with a hunched over position. You may sit further back in a proper posture. So that's just one of the issues that can be caused by just using a laptop. And as I said, the longer you're doing it and the longer your organization is doing it, the worse it can be for your health. Okay, so I mentioned productivity briefly before, but there's just a few stats here that show the negative impact on productivity that these aches and pains can have. So aches and pains are proven to cause 24% of stress-related absences from work. 2 million workers a year suffer RSI injuries, and of that 2,600,000 take time off for treatment. And as I said before, lots of these injuries are largely preventable. So if you as an organization were to be able to prevent all of these absences and sick days by making sure they were sat in a better position at their desks, it has a massive impact on your business. So you've got these people working 100% of the time rather than being off sick or having to take time off. And then another really important study that came out last year, Lenovo released a study that was all about home working, and it went through some of the negative aspects of home working. So in their study, 32% of the people that they surveyed cited upper and lower back pain, 28% noted worsening posture, 27% said they had an increase in neck pain, and 22% reported more headaches. And the inference on the headaches part was that that was due to the exposure of more blue light from spending more time on screens. So this Lenovo study is a really important one because it was all down to work from home. The previous numbers I spoke about in the last slide was kind of general, and it was actually released before the pandemic. This Lenovo study was done in the midst of the pandemic when everybody was working from home, and it really did assess kind of the difference between what you may have been used to in head office to now you've been working at home for a few months. What are the impacts it's had on you? And as I said, there's some quite drastic statistics there that show that it had a real negative impact on a lot of employees' health. Okay, so that's my bit done for now. I'm going to hand over to Lisa to talk through the solutions for healthy home working. Over to you, Lisa.
Sure, thanks, Rory. So just as a reminder too, as we're going through some of these solutions and some of the specific products, if you do have any questions or comments or anything like that, please feel free to drop a question into the chat or question box for us to answer at the end. Sometimes it's easier to think about that question, and a lot of times I'll forget it by the end. So definitely put it in there if you're thinking of it, and I'd love to answer your questions. But as we all navigate this home working solution, we've certainly tried to make the best of it throughout the last year, but I want to go through some solutions today to really improve and make some permanent solution suggestions for that home working space. So with Kensington products that are out there, it's really important to remember that if you can work well and be comfortable while you're working, you'll feel well not only while you're working, but then after you're done. As Rory mentioned, during the pandemic, a lot of us had to give up the hobbies or the socialization that we love to have due to the lockdowns and the different procedures that were in place. One of the biggest benefits of having a great ergonomic setup is feeling good by the end of the day and being able to return to those activities and feel good doing, whether it's just hanging out with friends or if it's playing a certain sport. So with some of the products that Kensington has to offer throughout ergonomic mice and keyboards, monitor arms, laptop stands, footrest, wrist rest, seat and backrest or cushions, and then the blue light filters. I'm going to go into why those are a benefit and what we can actually take into account for the type of setup that you're looking at working at during this time. So let's start off with the ergonomic keyboards and mice. Starting with the keyboards, I know that sometimes those ergonomic sloped keyboards look a little bit funny, but I am here to tell you that there are some major benefits to them. They do definitely help reduce those repetitive strain injuries as we're typing all day long. It also ensures that we can definitely separate our keyboard from that laptop keyboard that we have and avoid that hunched laptop syndrome. It's expanded space for the keys, which actually does result in fewer typing errors. And I know that it may look funny and it may take a little bit of time to get used to, but there's some serious benefits to it as well. Another thing to mention on our keyboard specifically is that we have negative tilt keyboard legs on the front of the keyboard to help the slope go slightly downward to increase the circulation in your fingertips, which with that combined with the slope of the keyboard truly helps prevent and really work towards curing that carpal tunnel syndrome that you might have settling in there. And I know I can say that, but we did a study to actually test the productivity and test how easy it was to change over to the curved ergonomic keyboard. And I've received a lot of pushback in my day of people saying, no, I don't want to use that curved keyboard. It looks strange. I can't type on it. It's going to slow me down. And so I wanted to put it to the test. And we gave people 1 week of typing and adjustment time before we actually did the test of productivity. But we had that benchmark from the start. And they actually had a 9% faster typing speed after 1 week of use using the Profit Ergo keyboard that you have pictured here. And if you go into the vertical mice that are out there, we have several in our portfolio to consider, but I want to talk about in general, what are those benefits of vertical mice? So that vertical orientation versus the flat traditional mouse really helps make that natural handshake grip really come to life. If you are constantly using a standard mouse and you're moving your wrist from side to side, you're causing a lot of pressure and potential inflammation in your carpal tunnel or in that wrist area that a lot of us will start feeling those aches and pains on. This is amplified also by the use of our phones or tablets when we're holding and swiping in that same motion we want to try to avoid. So anytime we can get our hand into a neutral position to alleviate that inflammation and give a very clean path for that blood to circulate all the way to our fingertips, that's key. So again, it really does help prevent, heal, and reduce the RSIs and the MSDs, which are musculoskeletal disorders. And then finally, it does reduce that wrist pronation and the tension so you can mouse longer in a more comfortable position. And the next area that I'll talk about is probably one of my favorites through this pandemic time. People have suddenly realized that they need their monitor at eye level. And so Kensington offers a variety of solutions in laptop risers, monitor stands, and monitor arms. And so it really depends on where you're working, which we'll go into that in a little bit. But most importantly, you want to make sure that whatever type of monitor or laptop you're using is at eye level. You're not hunched over looking down at it, and it should also be about an arm's length away if you were to fully extend your hand out and say you're trying to stop or push someone away from you. That's about where your monitor should be. So some of the solutions that you can do to be most adjustable would be monitor arms to raise the monitor up, and you can have that full control of moving the monitor wherever you need to on your desktop and have some space cleared there. But with the laptop risers and monitor stands, you can still raise it to an ergonomic level, and it just depends on what those goals are you're trying to achieve in the space that you have available. The laptop risers are extremely space effective and great for traveling workers as well, but all of these keep your desk more organized and create more space to stow your keyboards and mice away underneath them or push to the back of the desk while not in use. And the next area that we'll talk about is adding that comfort. So we'll talk a little bit more about where you guys might struggle in your setups if you've been working maybe at your dining room table or a less than ideal position. But a lot of these items are really what's going to get you to feel comfortable and help that posture and the circulation throughout the day. So footrests aren't just for a certain height of people. They actually support a natural stress relieving posture by having your feet out in front of you. And then the added benefit, if the footrest that you choose has a rocking or rotating type motion, it encourages NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And I will not say that 5 times today because I'm sure to mess that up. But having that rocking sensation increases that blood circulation, and it gives the feeling of walking or just that slight movement, so that you're not going to get that numbness or tingling feeling of sitting for so long. And then with wrist rest, this is an important thing. If you take one thing away from it, it's a huge misconception out there, but wrist rests are not meant to rest your wrist on. So they're meant to give the cushion support for the base of your palm to free your wrist of compression so that nothing is resting on it. And so if you have a wrist rest below the base of your keyboard, place it just underneath the base of your palm, and then that will give you a couple inches or just a little space there, so that your wrist is free of compression, your carpal tunnel or that wrist area is not having pressure or anything resting on it, and it allows the absolute most blood circulation to your fingertips again, which is the best thing that we can do. The other last piece of advice for wrist rest there is that you want to make sure that your desk is the right level. And so that right level would be from your elbow to the desktop. It should be a nice flat or even just slightly downward position. And so using a footrest to get yourself up to the correct height, or using that wrist rest to make sure that you're in that correct position there. And then backrest is a huge one right now. If you didn't get this fancy office chair for home use, or you might be working at a wooden dining room chair. And even if you do have a fancy office chair, a lot of times the support isn't where you need it. And so providing all day long lumbar support is really important, as 79% of back injury cases occur in work-related environments. And a lot of times, what that means is that we're doing something in the wrong position and we need to figure out how to fix it. So by supporting more of that natural positioning of the back and using that natural curve of the spine, having that support built into it is very important to have the lasting comfort throughout the workday. And it's particularly important, again, to have this cost-effective solution in place for people that are working from home, or have a less than ideal chair for them, as the backrest just can slip over the existing chair and adjust to where they need it to be. And seat cushions are not that exciting, but they have really big benefits. So basically, one of the biggest misconceptions is that all tables are the same height and you can sit down and work anywhere. But a lot of times our dining tables are actually higher than our office tables, or sometimes our office tables are just too high. And so using a seat cushion where you can get that little extra boost and comfort if you're sitting on a hard surface throughout the day is really important to give your hips and your low back that break they deserve. In our product, which I'll go through what that is here in a little bit, having that coccyx cutout or that hole cut out in the back, that's going to alleviate a lot of the pressure on your spine when you sit down. And so you're able to sit more comfortably in a better posture when you have that seat cushion there. Also, something to consider too is that it can actually be used in cars for increased comfort, or if someone is in a wheelchair to add comfort and basically extra support in that wheelchair seating. And then lastly, with the blue light filters, as Rory mentioned, we are looking at blue light all day long. I personally will go from checking my phone in the morning when my phone alarm goes off, then going to my computer screen, going back and forth between my phone, and then ending the day with TV and my phone. Sounds like a really boring day. But that being said, it's blue light all day long. And so having that blue light filter on my computer where I'm working many hours a day, it minimizes that daily dose of blue light where we can control it. And the filters can reduce that glare and blue light up to 22% a day. And I do want to make a note, not only on the blue light, but the glare itself, that when we're setting up our home offices, a lot of times we don't have the ideal lighting. And so being able to reduce that glare as well is important if you've got that shining light in at a certain time of day or something like that. That certainly helps. And then we're always looking for ways to improve our sleep and reduce headaches, and blue light filters is just one way of being able to do that. Some other tips I can give you is one of my favorite. It's called the 20-20-20 rule, which basically means every 20 minutes you should be looking away for 20 seconds, 20 feet away or 20 meters away. And so basically that just means looking off into the distance, finding a sign, a piece of artwork, something to focus on, and that helps reset your eyes and reduce the digital eye fatigue that we get. And then my last tip on blue light filters is trying a virtual commute while you're working from home. So when we were commuting to the office, we had time away from the screen on our way into the office. So starting your day doing yoga or a walk or something that's not associated to a screen is a really important tip to implement while you're working from home. So to go into a few specifics of outfitting that home office, if you have that luxury of having a separate space or a dedicated workspace, you can really set it up identical to what you would in your regular office in a pretty affordable way. And so the keyboard and mouse that I talked about before is the Profit Ergo wireless mouse and keyboard. It's important to note that that's Bluetooth and wireless connectivity, so it's great to be able to take it and connect how it works best for you. And with all of these products today, this is truly just a sample. It's what I personally would pick as my top choices, but definitely check out Kensington's full portfolio of products that we have as well. So with this SmartFit space saving monitor arms, I picked this monitor arm because it's space saving and it's super easy to install. So there's no confusing installations or anything like that. And it slides on to your desk there, and it takes up very, very little space and has our SmartFit system built into it for easy adjustment. And then having the laptop riser with SmartFit built into it as well, this is a great solution to get that laptop up to nice and eye level position. And we have other laptop risers out there as well. The footrest, it's a really important part of your desktop space, even though it's below the desktop. And so the SmartFit Soulmate Pro Ergonomic Footrest is one of the great options out there that is height adjustable, as well as having that rocking feature that we were talking about that promotes neat. And then the blue light filter, we've got tons of different variations for all types of monitors that are out there. And so definitely check to make sure your monitor is covered, but we should have most, if not all of them covered that you guys have. And then going into probably what a lot of you guys are experiencing is when space is tight, you really have to start looking for those compact accessories because they can truly be a game changer if you aren't used to working from home and now you have to work from that really tight compact space. So outfitting the dining table has probably been one of the most popular questions that's been asked in the past year, and looking at what solutions are out there and what we can put in. So again, we have lots of different options, but if we're talking truly compact and being able to take it and put it away each and every day, I would go with what's listed on the screen, which starting with the multi-device dual wireless compact keyboard. This is a great small keyboard. There's no number pad on it. And so it's also great, even if you are in an office, for people of a smaller stature that feel like they're having their keyboard be too big. And also the SureTrack mouse to go with it. Again, a very small, compact mouse, but it has a nice elongated body that fits your hand typically very well. I do want to make a note that sometimes people think wrist rest are a little bit too much of an accessory, but I will tell you that personally, I think they are a great accessory to have, especially when you're working at that dining room table. A lot of our office spaces had rounded or slightly curved edges. Most dining tables are a sharp knife edge. And so if you're able to use those wrist rests for the mouse and the keyboard directly below, that's going to soften that edge there. And so you're not even having a chance to compress that wrist area. Also, the Ergo Soft Wrist Rest with the slim compact keyboards, that's the same size as that compact keyboard as well. And so it makes everything nice and small. And it's a great choice for home or working on the go. And then the Easy Riser laptop riser, this product has been around for a long time and it just keeps growing. It's such a great product that's out there to be able to get our laptop up to the correct height and still put it in your bag and take it away with you or put it away at the end of the day. And again, with the blue light anti-glare and reduction filters, we have them for most, if not all of the laptops that you have. So definitely check with us if you're looking for a specific model and we'd be happy to help you out there. And a few other items that, like I said, this has been a popular item as people are working in less than ideal conditions with their chair or the table height. It's increasing that comfort. So the SmartFit Conform backrest has been very, very popular this past year. It has flexibility. So when you lean back against those two separated pieces, it moves with your body for that comfort. And it also has SmartFit built into it. So it's an adjustable piece that really fits you to where you need it to be. The rocking footrest is a newer product for us. And with that, it's great for using underneath the table or even when you're standing. And so this is really made for people that like to move around a little bit throughout the day, don't have a ton of space as it's much more compact in depth than our standard footrest. But that middle bar actually rotates 360 degrees. And you can also use it as like a perch if you were at a pub and wanted to put one foot up onto it to relieve that pressure on your spine. A lot of times people will go from working at the dining space to get a change in posture and work at their kitchen counter. So this is a great option to bring with it to enhance the comfort there. And then the premium cool gel seat cushion, again, that coccyx cutout or that hole in the back there, that's going to be great to take that pressure off your lower back, as well as the contoured shape of the seat cushion with the cooling gel. It's really a comfort add-on to any type of chair that you have, whether it's a hard chair or if your existing chair does have some padding into it. So we've talked about all these different adjustable products and how do we know that it's the right fit? And so I can tell you that ensuring the right fit for each and every person is a really hard thing to do as a manufacturer of these types of products, but we wanted to make sure that we could do the best job possible at it. So everybody's body is different and one size won't fit all. I promise you it can't. But what we can do is look at how we can make adjustable products to fit a range of people and how can we achieve that most ergonomic fit for every worker. So as you heard me talk about in previous slides, SmartFit is truly helping those workers set up for wellness. And if you're wondering what SmartFit is, basically the hand that's pictured here, the diagram comes in every SmartFit product that Kensington has. And you would take the hand chart out, put your hand onto the chart and see which color your hand would fall into. Then you would look onto the product and the product has those same color-coded icons on the actual product and you adjust to that color. Now, that's great. We've got color-coded things, but what does that all mean? And so basically that simple process that we just went through of laying your hand on the diagram and then taking it to the product and adjusting the fit is all derived from US Army data that we were able to calculate the statures and the positions of soldiers to understand how high or how low certain things needed to be to fit a range of people in the correct way. And so this truly helps people that don't have any prior ergonomic knowledge get their products in the right range of adjustment. Now, I know some of you that are listening today are seasoned ergonomic professionals or workstation assessors, and I want to let you know that your services certainly are still the best route to go for that absolute exact fit. But what this SmartFit system does do, especially for a lot of you that have been doing remote assessments over the last year, 18 months, and as that area of the field is growing, if I'm doing a remote assessment with a customer and they are a yellow, then I know exactly where that yellow hand size is and where it is on the product, and don't have to physically be in that same space. And so we're able to have that human connection without being next to each other. And it really helps fine tune adjust if you know exactly where that product is for that person. So I just want to point that out there, that whether you have any ergonomic knowledge or you have a ton of it, then SmartFit still has its benefit there. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Rory to go through a checklist.
Thanks, Lisa. Talking about our products in a far more eloquent way than I could manage, so thank you very much for that. So yeah, just by way of a bit of a summary of actions that everybody on this call can take away from this presentation, I've got down here a bit of a checklist for things that you can do, things that you can invite your teams to do when they're working from home. So first of all, a very simple one is when you're sat at your desk, whether that's a proper desk or a dining table, one of the really important things to do is to make sure your chair is close to your desk. So quite often I see people sat with a big gap between their body and the desk, which means that they're stretching forward to reach their keyboard. And obviously that's a very unnatural body position to be in. So, the closer, being close to your desk, make sure that your body is set up in that proper position to reach your peripherals. Second of all, we would very much recommend sitting with your feet flat on the floor, with your thighs parallel to the floor. So, if your legs are reaching down towards the floor, then that's in an unnatural position, and it causes strain on your lower back. If your feet don't reach the floor and your legs and your thighs aren't parallel to the floor, then you can adjust this by putting something underneath your feet, like a footrest. This brings your legs up to almost like a 90-degree angle with your body, and that just makes sure that you're sat at the proper angle and your legs aren't straining your lower back. So yeah, as I said, if your legs are reaching for the floor, so your knees are angling down, and you feel like your legs are reaching for that floor, then use a footrest or something else to lift your feet up to make it into that 90-degree angle. If you're sat at a desk that you can't adjust, or a chair that you can't move up and down in height, as is the case for quite a lot of people when they're working from their dining room table, you don't have to put up with it. There are things you can do to change that position. So Lisa talked about seat cushions. If your desk is too high and your chair is too low, simple things such as a seat cushion raises you up a little bit and just makes it much better angles for your body when you're using everything that's on top of the desk. When you're sat down on your chair, you need to make sure that you're sat leaning against the chair's back. So you're really pushing your lower back into the support of the chair. That will mean that your back isn't straining, and you're using the support of your chair to put your back in a better position. If you don't have an ergonomic chair, something that isn't sort of giving you that right support, then there are external backrests that you can get to sort of put on top of a chair. With most sort of ergonomic office chairs, this isn't always necessary, but if you're sat on a dining table, for example, it's a great solution, a low-cost solution to turn your non-ergonomic chair into something that's much better for you. Another really important point is to make sure that you're facing your screen and keyboard directly. So lots of the time I'm on video calls, and I'm talking to somebody, they're looking over here where their camera is looking at, but then they're still typing to where their keyboard and mouse would be. It just puts your body in a completely unnatural position. You're twisting your waist whilst also moving your arms over to one side to try and reach your keyboard or your laptop, and it's just not good for you. So you need to make sure that you're sat facing your screen directly, and that your body is fully aligned to that. One of the other ones is to adjust your chair height. So we would always recommend having a proper ergonomic chair. It has so many more benefits to you than working off just a dining room chair, sorry. But obviously we appreciate that that's not always a reality for lots of people. If you're working in a small space and you can't afford to have a cumbersome office chair in that space, then sometimes you have to make do. So you need to make sure that there is a way of adjusting that chair height so that you are level so your elbows are level to the top of your desk. Regarding your monitor, Lisa talked about our monitor risers and our monitor arms. One of the important points about this is to position your monitor at eye level. So you should always be looking directly at the top of your monitor, and your monitor should be at arm's length from your body. As Lisa said, as if you were pushing somebody away who was coming towards you. That's the perfect distance between you and your screen, and the perfect height to make sure that your head isn't reaching down, straining the back of your neck muscles, or that you're looking up and straining your other muscles in your neck. One of the points that I've been saying for the past year and a half is that using a laptop just isn't enough. It's not good ergonomics, it's not good for your productivity. So I would always recommend all of the stuff that goes with it. But as I said, as Lisa mentioned, it's not always possible to have a full work from home desk setup, especially where you've got either lower budgets or less space in the home environment, and you have to set up and take down your setup every day. So if you are just using a laptop, don't just use a laptop on its own on a table. There's really cost-effective ways of making sure that your laptop is risen up to the correct height by using a laptop riser. The Easy Riser that Lisa mentioned is one of our best-selling products, and it sells for around £15, €15. So it's really cost-effective way to do it. But also that does mean that you can't type on your keyboard, your integrated keyboard and trackpad within your laptop, because that will have really negative impacts on your wrists. So combine a laptop riser with a separate mouse and keyboard to make sure that you are sort of sitting in the right position, and your wrists are in unnatural angled positions. Lisa mentioned the 20-20-20 rule. This is something that you can do very easily, something that I try to do all the time. Just to sort of remind you of what that was, is that you should look into the distance about 20 meters or 20 yards away every 20 minutes for 20 seconds. And what this does is it lets your eyes focus on something other than a digital screen that's right in front of you. You may have noticed when Lisa was talking about this, I looked over here to my right to see the house across the road, and that's the task that I always try to do, to make sure that my eyes are varying what they're looking at, so I don't get eye strain throughout the day. And then finally, the last one we recommend on here is to take micro breaks. So as I mentioned before, in the handout section of the webinar, I've uploaded a stretch guide, and this is a great little tool for you guys to download and use. It shows you some exercises that you can do while you're sat at your desk, whether that's at home or in the office. You not necessarily have to go outside to do them, but it's just a way of making yourself move during the day, improving the circulation and getting those muscles moving to make sure you're not just seizing up sat in the same position all the time. But you should make sure that you're dropping your arms to the sides, stretching every 20 minutes to half an hour. You don't have to get up and go away to do it. You can do it while you're sat down. But it's that movement that's really important. I myself have a standing desk, so I try to do that every 20 to 30 minutes. Quite often I've been in meetings where I get funny looks on camera when they can see my desk going up and or down. So but it's really important for me. I find it so useful. It gives me much more energy during the day. So I really recommend that as a solution if it's possible for you. Okay, so at that point, we're going to open up to some questions. Please do use the question box in the webinar tool. While we're hopefully getting some of those through, I'll just mention again the handouts that I've put into the webinar portal. So you can download the infographic, which talks about a whole Work Like a Pro solution, and also that stretch guide. And please feel free to distribute that to anybody who you come into contact with. Also, we have, this sort of wellbeing webinar is part of a wider campaign for Kensington. So we've launched a campaign called Wherever You Work, Work Like a Pro. We had one webinar last week on how to improve home office productivity. We do have another one next week on how to improve data protection when you're at home. So if that's of interest to you, please make sure you go and register for that. We'll be advertising it on our LinkedIn page. You'll also get an email tomorrow after this session with a link to that as well. And for all of these webinars, we'll be selecting random attendees to win a £100 or €100 voucher, depending on location. And for those areas that don't come under those currencies, we'll figure out a solution for that. So please make sure you're registering for the data protection one to be in with a chance of winning that. We do have a URL on that page that you can see, kensington.com/work-like-a-pro/wellbeing. And on that page, you'll find lots of information that we've talked about today. So on there's a video, a little animation that goes through some of the key points we talked about. You're able to book a meeting with our sales team, or to fill in a contact form to request more information. There's also a free white paper to download as well, which goes through the 3 solution areas that I talked about: productivity, well-being, data protection. So make sure you go ahead and download that. And yeah, as I said, it kind of gives a nice summary of all the stuff that we've talked through today. So great resource for you. And then finally, if you have any questions that you haven't thought about today, please do drop us a line on contact@kensington.com. We'll be happy to answer any questions or pass you on to a contact within the same region as you. We do have a sort of global presence as Kensington as a brand, so we'll have someone in most countries across Europe that will be able to help. Okay, so Lisa, we've got a couple of questions in. I'm going to ask you the questions if you want to answer those, seeing as you're the expert. So first question is coming from Laura. Do you guys have any solutions for raising conventional flat pack desks?
Yeah, so we do have a desk-on-desk type solution available. You can definitely check out kensington.com for more information on that, or you can email on the contact@kensington.com for more information there. I will tell you too, just as a general scope, using the items that we have on the checklist of moving more and incorporating the equipment is great. And also thinking about how you can train yourself or the employees you're giving the equipment to is certainly an important aspect of delivering that. Rory's great at standing up every 20 to 30 minutes. And that's certainly something, as you're giving that product to someone or you're purchasing it for yourself, you need to think about what that schedule would be with that product too.
Thanks, Lisa. The next one is from Thomas, but it's not actually a question, it's more of a comment. So Thomas said, amazing webinar, thank you very much, can't wait to see more of that. So thanks for the feedback, Thomas. We've got a question from James Crow, who, Lisa, I know you know quite well. James has said, great info there, Rory and Lisa. Question, if you were marooned on a desert island with a solar powered laptop and could only choose one single ergonomic product to take with you, what would you choose?
Oh man, that's
if I was on a desert island, I'm not sure I'd be doing much work, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the piece of equipment I would take is whatever is the most comfortable, maybe a wrist rest for a pillow to lay on the beach. But realistically, no. I mean, I think it goes back to the vitals that if you're solar powered, you still can have access to some of the devices that are wired in. And so if we could solar power a laptop, I would use a wired keyboard and mouse and a laptop riser. Now I know that's cheating, that's more than one. But again, I think I'd rather be laying on the beach with my wrist rest as a pillow versus doing work on my laptop at that point too. Great question though.
Yeah, great question. Laura, from who asked us the earlier question, has actually added to that and said that she loves that question, but her recommendation would be a beer holder. That's a very important thing if you're stuck on a desert island, for sure. Next question, we've got one from Sue Godby, who has said, do you recommend a break reminder?
So yeah, I mean, I think break reminders are great, but break reminders come in a variety of different ways. So the 20-20-20 rule is something that should start to be ingrained in you the more that you use it. I've helped implement software or reminders in the past at companies, and if they're mandated, it's a very thin line of people loving and hating it. That being said, we have a lot of technology available out there through different watches or prompters that way that are built into our everyday use anyways. So those are great, and I think it's a great way to start. The longer you do those breaks prompted by something, the more it gets ingrained in your schedule and you do it naturally.
Cool, thank you for that one, Lisa. Next question we've got from another James is, what's the difference between a monitor arm and a monitor riser?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a monitor arm is typically going to be clamped or drilled through your desk. That is a permanent or semi-permanent installation there. Usually it's an unarticulating type arm, so it frees up a lot more desk space, as the only portion that's actually secured to the desk is going to be a small size, about the size of a beer can, since we're talking about that today. It would be about that size on the back or a corner of your desk. Monitor riser or monitor stand is going to be more like a platform that your monitor or laptop would stand on. The benefit to that is a lot of times you can stow your keyboard and mouse directly underneath them, or paperwork or something like that to tidy your desk up. And they're still adjustable. Realistically, the price points now, the gap is narrowing on the monitor risers and stands and the monitor arms. So if you're waffling between those two options, think about the space you have available and how likely you would be to move that item to another space, or if it's a permanent setup, and really the look and feel that you're going for in that space.
Thank you very much. Next question is, do you have any left-handed mice?
So we do. I can't tell you how many times we've been asked for left-handed mice. I'm actually a lefty and I use a right-handed mouse, so if that's not messed up. But that being said, one of the most popular recommendations I would make for someone that's having right wrist discomfort would be switching to a non-dominant hand or the other hand for mousing. So Kensington makes a really great vertical, so you get that benefit of the contoured handshake grip, but a vertical left-handed mouse. And so super cost effective as well with that. And it's great for people that really are trying to move over to basically dispersing the strain between two hands versus always mousing with that right hand side.
Awesome. Just another point, actually, I wanted to add to the question about monitor risers versus monitor arms. Something that we didn't actually mention today, but a new product that we're coming out with is a monitor riser called UV stand. It's a monitor stand that has a UVC sanitation drawer integrated into it. So, we see it as a great solution for not necessarily working from home, but in the transition of moving employees back into the office. We are launching a product that you can sort of put your laptop or monitor on top of to raise it up to that correct height, but it has a box integrated that you can put in your mouse, your keyboard, your headset, keys, wallet, phone, etc. You close the door, and it within 10 minutes it sanitizes all of the equipment within there. So a great product for bringing people back into the office if you're having hot desks, just being able to sanitize all of those accessories without having to use lots of chemical sprays or wipes or whatever. So please do check that out on Kensington's website. There'll be some more information coming about that soon, but I believe that product will be available in later on next month. So yeah, a great solution for sort of a hybrid working and bringing people back into the office. Okay, and then we've had another one here from Tanya Kavanagh, who's just said, very informative, well done, and thank you. So thanks for the feedback, Tanya, always appreciated. Had a couple of questions from Aaron, but Aaron, I'll drop you a note on that after the call to answer that question, because I think that's not something that would be quite relevant to everybody on the call, but I'll get in touch with you on that one. I just had another one from Laura saying, great presentation, interesting info, have a great day, enjoy your weekend. Thanks very much, Laura, you too. So I think that's probably a good point to end it there, because we've got no further questions coming in. So yeah, as I said, please do have a look at the website. We've got lots of information on there. Download our white paper on our infographic. You know, there's lots of assets on there that you can circulate with your teams to make sure that they're all sitting comfortably, working well from home. And yeah, as I said, please make sure you're tuning into next week's webinar on data protection if that's of interest to you. Okay, so with that, I will say goodbye to everybody and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye-bye.